This is the Chiropractic Marketing Podcast, an on-demand talk radio show that covers internet marketing best practices for chiropractors. I'm your host, Dr. Patrick McNamara. Welcome, everyone, to episode number 88 of the Chiropractic Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Patrick McNamara, and today I want to talk about a question I get asked constantly, usually in some version of, why does one chiropractic website quote come in at $500 a month and another comes in at $4,000 flat, and how am I supposed to know which one is actually the right number? So let's settle that today, because chiropractic website cost is one of the most confusing things in this entire industry, and almost nobody explains it honestly. Here's the first thing I want you to understand. If you ask 5 different chiropractic website companies what a new site costs, you will get 5 wildly different numbers, and almost none of them will explain what's actually inside that number. Some quotes are a few $100s a month, some are a flat few thousand. Some just say, call for pricing, and dodge the question entirely. None of that variation actually tells you what you're buying, and that's the real issue here. Chiropractic website cost isn't one number. It's a combination of 3 things: what it costs to build the site correctly, what it costs to maintain it every month after it launches, and what it costs you in lost patients if the site was never built to generate them in the first place. Most quotes only ever address that first piece, and that's exactly where chiropractors get burned. So let's talk about why the pricing is such a mess to begin with. A $500 template site and a $4,000 custom-built platform are not the same product with different price tags on them. They are fundamentally different things built to produce fundamentally different outcomes. A template build usually means a pre-designed layout, some basic content swapped in with your practice name on it, and a handoff the moment it goes live. There's no ongoing technical maintenance baked into that price. There's no custom design work, and there's usually no real investment in the technical SEO foundation beyond whatever happened to come bundled with the template. It's cheap because there's very little actual labor behind it. A custom-built managed platform costs more upfront because the labor behind it is real, custom designed specific to your practice. A technical SEO foundation built from the architecture up, not patched on after the fact. Condition-specific content written for the conditions you actually treat. And a team that keeps maintaining that site every single month after it goes live. That difference in labor is the difference in cost. And once you see it laid out that way, the widespread in chiropractic website pricing actually starts to make sense. Now, when you're evaluating a quote, the fee should map to specific, nameable deliverables, not a vague promise that you're getting a great website. A real build should include custom design built for your practice specifically, not a shared template used across hundreds of other chiropractors. It should include a technical SEO foundation, schema markup, core web vitals performance, clean crawl architecture, mobile responsiveness, built in from day one, not bolted on 6 months later. It should include condition-specific pages dedicated to the conditions you actually treat, structured to convert search traffic into appointment requests instead of just sitting there looking informative. It should include lead capture and automation so an inquiry doesn't sit unanswered in an inbox for 3 days. And it should include launch-ready content written specifically for your practice, not filler copy waiting to be replaced eventually. Every one of those items has a real labor cost behind it. If a quote comes in dramatically lower than everyone else's, it is almost always missing several of them. Here's the part that most quotes conveniently leave out, and it's the part that matters most. A website is not a one-time purchase. It's a patient acquisition asset that needs ongoing attention to keep performing. WordPress needs security updates. Search algorithms shift. Core Web Vitals thresholds get reevaluated by Google. Content needs to keep growing to keep pace with what's actually ranking. A build fee that doesn't include a maintenance plan isn't a lower cost. It's a deferred one. Either you pay someone to keep that site working every month going forward, or the site slowly degrades until it needs another full rebuild sooner than it should have. I have seen this pattern more times than I can count. Practices that go the cheap build, no maintenance route almost always end up paying twice, once for the original build and again a year or two later for the fix. This is exactly why my platform, Chiropractic Marketing Websites, folds ongoing maintenance into the relationship from day one instead of treating it as a separate optional add-on you find out about later. Monthly WordPress updates, security monitoring, uptime monitoring, and quarterly performance audits, all handled by the same team that built the site in the first place. That's a materially different value proposition than a build and disappear project, even in cases where the sticker price on paper looks similar. So let's talk about why the cheapest option is so rarely the cheapest outcome. The real comparison isn't build fee against build fee. It's total cost against patients actually acquired. A cheap template site that never ranks and never converts costs you every single patient who searched for a chiropractor in your area and never found you. That's an invisible cost. But I want to be very clear, it is by far the largest cost in the entire equation. A properly built site costs more upfront, specifically because that upfront investment is what makes it capable of generating patients in the first place. Without the technical foundation, without the condition pages, without the lead capture system, the cheaper site isn't actually cheaper. It's just a bill you paid for something that was never going to do the job you needed it to do. And this is also why chiropractic website cost and chiropractic SEO really can't be evaluated as two separate purchases. A site built without SEO architecture in mind will need that work retrofitted later, usually at additional cost and usually with worse results than if it had been built correctly from the start. If you're working with DCRank on Google Business Profile Management or AI visibility, that investment goes a lot further when the website underneath it was built to support it from day one, instead of requiring remediation before the optimization work can even begin. I'll link to DCRank's Search Everywhere optimization page in the show notes if you want to see how the full strategy fits together. So, what does a realistic budget actually look like for a genuinely custom, technically sound website with condition-specific content and lead capture? Expect the build fee to land in the low thousands with an ongoing monthly maintenance fee that's a small fraction of that build cost. If your practice is further along and needs a fuller rebuild, migrating years of existing content, redirecting old URLs, upgrading an aging site, expect a larger investment because that work genuinely involves more than starting fresh from a blank page. In addition, here's what never should be part of a healthy website budget: recurring SEO fixes for a site that was never built correctly the first time, surprise charges for basic maintenance that should have been included from the start, or a bill that keeps growing because the original build never accounted for your practice actually expanding. One more thing worth paying attention to: the deposit and payment structure itself tells you something. A provider asking for the full amount up front before any work is even visible is asking you to carry all the risk. A structure that splits the fee, a deposit to begin the build with the balance due at launch, puts some of that risk back on the provider since they don't get paid in full until the site is actually live and working. That's not just a financial detail. It reflects something real about how confident that provider is in their own process and their own timeline. So here's how I'd suggest evaluating any chiropractic website quote you get. Ask the same 5 questions of every provider. Is the design custom to your practice or a shared template? Is the technical SEO like schema, core web vitals, and crawl structure included in the build or sold separately down the road? Does the fee include ongoing maintenance, or does the relationship end the moment the site launches? who's actually writing the content? A generic copywriter or someone who understands chiropractic care specifically? And what happens if something breaks 6 months from now? Is that covered, or is that a brand new invoice? The provider who can answer all 5 of those questions clearly with a fee that maps to real nameable deliverables is worth more to you than the provider with the lowest number on the page and no real answer beyond "it's included." Before I close out, I want to connect this back to something I talk about constantly on this podcast, which is that CMW operates on a one practice per market model. That's not a sales tactic bolted onto the pricing conversation. It's built into how the platform actually works. When a practice's market is accepted, the content, the local SEO signals, and the marketing funnels built for that practice are built for that market specifically, and we don't turn around and replicate the same strategy for a competing practice down the street. Which means if your market is still available, that's genuinely worth finding out now rather than after somebody else claims it. If you want to go deeper on how the technical side of this connects to search visibility, I did an earlier episode on what actually makes a chiropractic website SEO ready, and I'll link to that one in the show notes as well. All right, that wraps things up for today's episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Chiropractic Marketing Podcast. Before you go, remember to subscribe to my podcast on your favorite platform. Whether it's Apple Podcasts, Audible, YouTube Podcasts, Spotify, or others, I've got you covered. If you need to see a full list of supported platforms, simply visit chiropracticmarketingpodcast.com. Last but certainly not least, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Apple Podcasts. Your reviews not only help build awareness of what I'm talking about, but also give me a good indication of how I'm doing. Be nice, be fair, but definitely be honest. I would greatly appreciate it, and so will future listeners. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.